And the infamous Amber Roll.
All right.
We're back.
I'm reclining. I don't know about you, but I'm...
Yeah, I'm kicked back after I had that freaking pizza from Tony's, which I haven't had since, since the surgery I had back in freaking February. So I'm like, now I've got 2-3 months of full recovery under my belt. And
yeah, you're looking good.
And I'm ready to do the other one. God damn, that other one is like really acting up. So, but I'm putting it off. So yeah, first time we're recording since the whole quarantine debacle.
What was the date we picked? March 15th was the last one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like the... Right. Yeah, it was... Because it was right when Corona was becoming a household term.
Right.
So,
you mean when the media spun it up?
Yeah, when we going to go... Yeah.
When the media decided to make it a thing?
Yeah, I mean, everybody can have their own twist on what went on with that whole Corona and how it just ramped up like crazy and affected just everything. Shut down businesses, the stock market to some degree kind of crashed a little bit, and everybody just had to stay home. And like for me, my dad looked at it as just like one big fucking inconvenience,
right?
And it was like, for me, what the struggle was no, Dad, you can't fucking go, and because anywhere he goes, he always mom's in tow. So I was you go to an affected area, both of y'all get fucking sick.
Right.
I get in and I get what we need and I get out. And that was kind of the protocol that we followed. So I would go out and do these like surprise runs to freaking Tomball because Tomball's less congested than where we fucking live.
Sure.
So, and that was just kind of the ideology that I use, because I have a lot of friends that would be like, why are you driving so freaking far? And I'm like, did you not get the part where I told you it's less congested? Do I have to explain fucking everything to you?
Did you use Amazon?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we used the hell out of it. Yeah.
So, but, with the, real briefly, because we had so much time on our hands at home, and, I can't tell you how many posts I saw of people, or hell, even conversations I had where I had people saying, well, I'm bored. And I'm like, I don't even understand that concept of I'm bored. I've got to get out. And anyway, so I would occupy my time with all kinds of stuff. So I went back and I started learning French.
Oh, cool.
Which, like, for me, it makes sense because, like my family in Louisiana,
right?
They went through school that followed the culture immersion program. Mm-hmm. So they all speak fluent fucking French.
Right.
So,
Louisiana Cajun French, huh?
Yeah. And that's the other thing is,
right.
Now they don't struggle when they talk to somebody who's from France or Canada.
Oh, I bet not. Yeah.
Now there's some variances of the word, but for the most part, they can keep up just fine with that conversation. So between that and, just eating up time with fucking Tiger King, holy shit.
Yeah, it was definitely binge TV for a while.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, it's funny because for me, I'm a natural social distancer anyway.
Okay.
I've got my own little circle. I
Sure.
mean, I'm not afraid to get out. Nothing bothers me like that.
But it's a choice.
Yeah, I was using my head, because I look at everybody else as being gross and sick.
Okay.
And
that's
you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah.
You're never disappointed though.
Yeah, I'm never disappointed when I get out
surprised.
So I spent a lot of time working on the house.
Okay. Oh yeah. You did tell me about your projects.
I had a lot of projects here in the house that needed to be done. So I was getting all that done, putting new trim up and replaced the dishwasher, worked in the yard, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was just kind of like a bonus time,
Yeah.
Got a lot of stuff done. The problem with it is when I start showing that type of energy, the honeydew list gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So.
It's like you're throwing up flares. Like,
I'm
available for hard work.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Inconvenience me.
Yeah. In Annette, they deemed what she did essential, so they never missed a day.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the whole toilet paper thing, and I'm just going to bust on her a little bit. Yeah. So my wife is a hoarder, toilet paper hoarder. And so the game of the day was trying to find Charmin extra soft toilet paper. Because you can get one ply all day long.
Right.
But that one ply doesn't fly in this house. So that was kind of fun. We did all that.
It was like if you're a Letterkenny guy,
yeah,
you don't want anybody to ever walk up to you and say, "You're 10 ply, bud."
Exactly.
That's like you're like super fucking soft, which you never ever want to be.
Well, I don't know. Going through all this and watching the insanity of everybody around me. Because I know, unlike yourself, I do monitor social media on this type of stuff probably a little more heavily than you do.
Okay.
And so for me, I'm watching behaviors form. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm watching people that are like what I would consider to be nominally smart.
Okay.
Become totally fucking stupid.
For instance.
Well, okay, so first of all, I don't know of anybody yet that had COVID-19.
Neither do I.
Never met one, don't know anybody.
Now, I do know that a church that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that recently, several members of the clergy there.
Recently?
Yeah, like within a month. Actually, one of the priests just passed away. So, but I didn't know who he was.
Was it of that?
Yes.
Wow.
But you know, all those. First off, all the priests were in that age category that became where you become highly.
You're like what, 60 and above?
Yes,
60, 65 and above.
Yes.
Well, you know, first of all, I'll preface it by saying I believe it was a legit virus, just like H1N1 was, and just like seasonal flu is.
Right.
I firmly believe it's a laboratory-borne disease.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to get off in any conspiracies because, you know, we all have our opinions. You and I were talking about this earlier.
Sure.
But when you start seeing key members of a certain elitist group step out with, well, we want everybody to have vaccinations, and we want you start looking at the money. You start looking how money's made, and you start looking at control.
Control, right?
And I look at it as
modifying behaviors.
Yeah,
too.
that's exactly what I think is went on. Is you know, how do you deem what business is essential and what isn't essential? And when you cross the line between civil liberties and the right to make a living.
Well, and when you start going and helping or guiding people to understand, you're giving people your interpretation of the greater good. You know, because that's subjective to everybody.
Sure.
So.
Well, I really struggle with. I mean, I look at the powers that be, and I think they're idiots anyway.
Right.
We never get the right people in office on most of the things. Some of them we do.
Right.
You know, we have representatives that I like, and there's a whole bunch of them I don't like.
Sure.
I think that Harris County is biggest fucking joke on the planet.
Yes.
I feel bad for anybody that is a good employee that got saddled with those morons, because I know how hard that's got to be. And then I look at the city of Houston, and I shake my head even more, because that's a den of thieves anyway. You've got a guy that's a mayor that's a proven liar and a thief. And then you've got extremely inexperienced people. We'll just pick on the judge for a little bit. That chick, I honestly, she's probably a good person.
Yeah.
But she is not old enough, one, to have a position of such power over such a large county, and two, she shows a lot of reckless decision tendencies. So I really, you know, like I said, I've done well to stay non-combative with anybody over this.
Okay.
You know, but I also look at it too as like, look, these are seasonal viruses that come through. If this is a released virus, or if it's a laboratory virus that got to the U.S., now I'm going to start looking at why, how, what's the motive. So as these things unfold, more and more things start coming to the forefront. You got the fiasco of the press conferences that this poor president had to endure.
Right.
I wouldn't have done it, honestly. I would have sat there and said, you know what? First of all, you're a bunch of nincompoops, and we're not doing press conferences with morons like you.
Mm-hmm.
I will address the public directly, and I will take questions off of a monitor or through my press department and answer your questions.
Yep.
But to sit there and battle with those fucktards, I would have never done that. I honestly, First of all, I can't stand the media because all they are is they're a mouthpiece for somebody else's agenda.
Yeah,
they don't find the fucking truth. They try to spin and stir shit.
My deal on these daily updates that the president did was, me personally, I liked the fact that he did these updates.
Sure.
I would have preferred he step back and be a role player than as pivotal as he was in a lot of things. And I was like, he said a lot of things that I'm like, okay, this is going to come back to freaking haunt you.
Yeah, exactly.
I want the fucking experts to speak up on this.
But did you trust those experts though? I mean, if you look at Fauci, let's just take him apart a little bit.
Okay,
Fauci and Bill Gates are like in each other's pockets.
Okay.
I mean, Fauci's the mouthpiece for Bill Gates when it comes to sitting on a board somewhere.
Okay.
And now it's coming out to where he's been flip-flopped on this whole thing. I mean, had everybody scared to death. Don't leave your house. Don't go do this. Don't go do that. Wear a mask.
Right.
Do all this. So people were compliant because they took it serious.
Right.
Then you start hearing later, well, maybe it doesn't spread off of surfaces like we thought it did. Or, well, maybe this, I mean, there was too many maybes coming out of these assholes.
Now, I will say that and to some degree, I understand the position that he did, or they took, is we're going to be uber fucking cautious.
Yeah.
But as we're uber cautious, we're going to find out whether we're right. And then we're going to find out we weren't right. And then we'll just come and tell you it's not quite as contagious, or it can't be contracted quite the way that we thought that it would. Right. So, let your guard down a little bit. So it was like this ramped down effort to be a little bit more, allow more freedom into your life by doing this stuff. And I was like, shouldn't we have ramped up rather than the downward? But there's a lot of philosophies.
Well, they did that backwards. They made everything mandatory after 45 days. Okay, that they should have been mandatory up front.
Okay,
it should have been masks up front. It should have been all this shit up front. But no, what do they do? You get a judge that says we're going to fine you $1,000.
Yeah,
we're not wearing masks. I'm like, get out of here.
So
come on.
To that point, and you and I kind of had this brief discussion because I know I talked to Todd. Talked to Todd about this, which, by the way, we're a man down. So during this time, and this was like the early stages of the quarantine, where more and more people were were being told to stay home, and so now you've got this people now worrying about whether they're even going to have a job when they do return to work, or how they're going to pay their bills. This is all before the stimulus package and shit came out.
Right.
So you've got all these people worrying how they're going to pay their freaking bills. So now they're staying at home, probably doing some activities that they don't ordinarily participate a lot in. So you're going to get on Facebook, you're going to get on social media.
Oh, and that just made it worse.
The thing is I saw more people get like bans, 3-day bans, 1 week ban.
Oh yeah.
Because they're ramped up and they're a little bit alarmed about what their life's going to look like when they go back to work.
Yeah.
So my thought process is for Facebook is everybody's going to be staying home to keep their community safe. And oh, by the way, since you can't social distance, but if you say the wrong fucking thing, we're going to social distance you digitally through the internet.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, is that really the fucking message that you want to send? Is you want to make people pipe down? Oh, and that whole fact checking bullshit that they started out.
Right.
They started rolling out with Twitter as well.
Right.
That to me didn't make any sense. As in my mind, emotions were kind of running high. And
sure.
I hate using the word emotions just because to me it's like a useless fucking word.
It is at times. Yes.
And so people don't know what to do or what they're going to do if their life if by their measure turns to shit. But Facebook is going to fucking tell you,
right?
Hey, you can't fucking do this or I'll fucking slap you down.
Well, it's typical elitist mentality. I mean, you've got people that are making money off the taxpayer, telling the taxpayer they can't make a living, can't pay your bills.
Right.
Now they're giving. They did to me that stimulus was all done wrong. Corporations don't need bailed out as much as the private sector did.
Well, it's the loose interpretation
Yes.
of what makes somebody eligible versus not eligible.
Exactly. I really didn't like that one bit. You're telling an entire industry of private enterprise that you have no safety net, even though you paid it all these tax dollars.
Yeah.
But we're going to give money to these companies that have a safety net.
Sure.
And then then what ends up happening, at least in my opinion, is it became a legitimate scare about a virus that they had everybody terrified of.
Yeah, and it was they created a scare.
So after that started losing traction, it's like watching the fucking Weather Channel. Anytime a drop of rain hits the ground, we're all gonna die. You know what I mean?
We have to have the next tragedy.
Yeah, we've got
in the queue.
Yeah, we've got Jim Cantori standing in front of a wind machine, looking like he's getting blown over. So what ends up happening is the news cycle spins up. Now here's where I think it goes a little crazy here.
Okay.
You're in a election year, and it's a highly contested one, and the incumbent had huge successful rallies, and the front runner Joe Biden, who's still a bumbling fucking idiot,
sure,
was getting smoked. Okay.
Okay.
So naturally, the media is going to come to his rescue.
Sure.
And so they keep pumping this up. If you look at all the controversial decisions that were made, they were made by socialist democratic politicians. Every city, like New York, look at fucking New York.
Yeah, de Blasio.
Oh my God, de Blasio and Como. They were the ones that squandered all that money after the H1N1 scare when Obama was president.
Okay. They
didn't refill any of their supplies. They chose not to update anything. They chose not to refill. And
these are people fucking elected.
Yes, elected people taking money from the taxpayers to do a job. Then you've got a Senate that's so busy trying to impeach the fucking guy they don't like.
Right.
So instead of doing the job of making sure that this is in place, that's in place, these laws are being taken care of, they're out there trying to burn this guy's house down. Okay? So they're not doing their job either.
Okay.
So while they're not doing their job for 3.5 years, this emergency blows up. Who takes over? The fucking press.
Yeah.
The media takes over.
Well,
and then who jumps in? Hollywood. Really? I mean, come on.
Oh, my God.
A bunch of court jesters that have been lucky that the public has tolerated their bullshit as long as they've tolerated it.
Yeah.
Jump in there now and they think they have a fucking voice. And I'm like, really? I mean, come on. You've got people losing jobs. You've got people losing their homes, their cars, all these things that they hold sacred. But you keep moving forward because you got millions in the bank.
Yeah.
And you're still drawing money off the taxpayers.
So my deal about celebrities is I don't necessarily think that their opinions are more important than mine.
Oh, I never think they are.
The problem I have with just celebrity opinions in general is that the media thinks that they're fucking important and they blast them in their face.
Well, they're in cahoots,
and
dude.
the thing is the people that probably have the best fucking ideas
Yeah.
don't get their ideas put out because they don't have, they're not up for a Grammy or any kind of an award. They have no social media following. That seems to be the metric that you have to hit in order to get the media to, or the press to want to prop you up and, hey, this guy's got a really good fucking idea.
So I don't even call them celebrities. To me, they're entertainers. That entire sector has been on a decline for the last 10 years.
Right.
Okay? They're only relevant to themselves.
Yeah, because they just want to keep that check.
The product they put out is trash. It's trash. There's nothing of value to me that they do.
Well, because the quality now
it's horrible.
Is subjective. I mean, it's been lowered. The standard's been lowered.
It's trash. Any moron can go out there and act like a moron. I mean, that's just reality TV has proven that they have become irrelevant with their content. Because reality TV has replaced a lot of them as far as airtime. Reality TV is hammered in on them.
Right.
And so you've got a lot of people out there that have, to me, I believe, live questionable lifestyles.
Okay.
And they are very, very deviant.
So
in many ways. They do things that the average person couldn't get away with or wouldn't even attempt to get away with.
So what's a deviant lifestyle?
A deviant lifestyle to me is going to be complete decadence, drugs. Look at the drug abuse they have.
Okay.
Every one of them's in rehab.
Yeah.
You know, if I made the kind of money they made, okay, I would be very philanthropic with it. I would be helping people,
right,
but I wouldn't be abusing myself because I feel like, poor me, I have nothing in my soul. Are you shitting me? I got a shitload of money.
Right.
I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to enjoy my job, and I'm going to help people that I know, and I'm going to make a contribution to society that is substantial. I'm not going to offer some twisted, demented, fucked up view on what I think it should be. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go along with helping people that need help.
Well, because I like with celebrities with me, and I hate saying the word only because
they're not.
But the thing is it allows you to visualize who it is or what group we're referring to. So for me, anything that they do is they put a message out there on TV that makes them look very philanthropic, but at its core, everything is fucking self-serving.
Very self-serving. It's a tax shelter for a lot of them. Nick Searcy did a 1-hour speech on Hollywood's influence or political influence in Hollywood. And you know what's funny is the celebrities, quote unquote, are the front. That's the face you see.
Right.
The actual depth is behind them. Mm-hmm. The agents, the managers, the producers, all these people that are content related.
Yeah, well, because they want to make sure that the image doesn't get tainted.
Sure.
In
so,
some
well,
way.
I don't know about tainted, but they want to present an image.
Yeah.
And so when you have a political machine that makes money off of nothing, because literally, if you look at what most of these people do, they're taking something out of thin air.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about the technical side because, you know, effects and
editing,
that's a real
skill.
That's a real skill. I'm talking about the people that, because I mean, we were sitting there during this whole COVID-19 thing.
The readers.
Yeah.
The readers. You read a script.
We were trying to find something to watch. And so there's like 50,000 movies, but most of them are shit. They're horrible. They're some of the worst crap. How they get funded, I don't understand.
Right. Well,
and then I'm not going to take lifestyle advice from somebody that's going to be putting pictures of themselves all over the internet, half naked, doing all kinds of weird shit.
I'll look,
and then I'll look too, but I'm not going to take advice from them. And then next thing you know, I wrapped the car around a tree because I was stoned. Oh, well, fuck you.
Right.
You know, you shouldn't be that irresponsible.
Right.
Most people would lose their jobs for doing that.
Sure.
In their world, they allowed them. They're very, we're going to do a Dr. Drew celebrity rehab show. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And well, so this has become our babysitter during COVID-19.
You have to be able to take a negative and turn it into a positive.
Oh, for sure. And that's the whole thing about spin. I mean, you know how I am about that whole PR thing. I mean, it's all about, it's not what's right or wrong. It's what you can get people to believe.
Or really, at its core, just watch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it's just viewership.
Well, we all tend to be voyeurs anyway. We've been turned into the next level of voyeurs. And so, you know, I look at what went on during this whole COVID-19 thing, and when you repeat things over and over and over, then they kept saying the new normal.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Fuck you. But that's the new normal.
That term is not really new because new normal was thrown out when fucking 9/11 happened.
Yeah, but they're reshaped. That's what I'm saying. They're reshaping everything.
Yeah.
So now you've got people that are burning their savings to stay alive.
Yes.
They are burning their savings up, dude. If you don't think that isn't happening, savings are just getting ripped through right now. And then you've got politicians that have turned into millionaires that have now become billionaires.
Yeah.
I mean, the billionaires have gotten even bigger during this thing.
See, when that whole thing, I mean, when this whole thing started with just the talk of, you know, when you're sitting in high level discussions at the congressional level, whether you're a rep or a congressperson, and you're finding out that, hey, our eyes and ears over across the water in these other countries that we cooperate with have learned of this new bug that's going around, and it starts coming back, and you've got people that are flying all over the freaking place that have ventured off into God knows where and whatever host country they went into, and they're bringing this stuff back to your shores. And then, the gestation period is, anywhere from a week to 2 weeks, or it may not show up. But now you're starting to, you're seeing that it could possibly affect the markets, and like the 3, 4, or 5 congressional people that freaking sold their stocks, and then, ahead of this thing. Yeah. But then how I look at it is you had information, and you basically took advantage of the market to, keep yourself safe. And oh, by the way, when they do an investigation,
we're exempt.
You found out that they did no wrong.
Yeah, we're exempt.
Yeah.
No, they exempt themselves from inside trading. That's a fact.
Yes. No, that
is bullshit.
Well, they made it harder for you to prove that they've manipulated the market to their advantage.
Right.
So, which is, in a sense, is just like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like taking the law or the regulation that was in place and just making it transparent. It doesn't even fucking exist. So,
well, I think the whole mission was to totally destroy the incumbent president. I honestly
change the landscape.
They changed the landscape. It's leave no ground to go to. Let's burn it all. And we haven't even got to these fucking rioters yet. And when we get to those, you're gonna love this shit.
Yeah.
But so we're sitting here now.
Well,
we're cruising through here. We're cruising through this thing, and we're looking now at going. Let's say 30 days in. When people think that this is all over with, then you get the politicians going, "Oh no, we're gonna extend it another 30 days."
Yeah. Particularly on a local level.
Yeah. So the thing that I thought was funny was, we don't want the president to tell us what to do, and then when stuff goes bad, well, how come the president didn't tell us to do this?
Right.
So this is people, being just the morons that they are. But what's even funnier, or not really funnier, but sad, what I think is extremely sad, is there's a father with his daughter playing in a park, and they're 22 feet apart. Right. And they're playing baseball in a park.
But it's a father and daughter, though.
Yeah, it's a father and a daughter.
Yeah, living under the same fucking roof.
Yeah, exactly. And he just wants to get her out of the house so she can get some fresh air. Because they say that the vitamin D in the sun is good for your...
Absolutely.
This whole thing. Yeah. So what does the Denver Police Department do? They come up and they handcuff this guy in the park with his daughter, in front of his daughter, and take him away. Instead of saying, "Sir, this park is closed.
Wrap it up.
Can you just wrap it up and go home?" No, they're gonna push.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which essentially is the same thing Facebook did with, hey, if you instead of warning somebody and telling them to go, hey, for society's good or community.
Look at this a little closer before you share it.
Yeah, just go ahead and go on. But no, I'm going to skip all those steps. I'm gonna slap cuffs on him, and I'm basically going to change his address for the next 24 hours. And it's a good thing
that wasn't me, because we'd have been on the 6 o'clock news together, because that shit ain't flying with me. No, it's really not. Fuck those guys. And so what ends up happening now is you have a couple gym owners. This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
And a lot of gyms that I follow are veteran owned. Because you have to understand, for veterans, that the physical therapy side of it is a huge help for them. Yeah. And for any human being that feels trapped, physical exercise is the best way to burn off all that energy.
Well, I can tell you, speaking from firsthand knowledge, was I used to get almost daily notifications from the VA letting me know what the status of the clinics or just their locations in general is. It went from, hey, if you come here, make sure you got a mask. Then it was like, when you come here, make sure that nobody else can come into the building with you, and you can only come here if you have an appointment. Every day, or every other day, there was an alteration to the protocol that I used to receive all the time, and thusly, as things became less problematic, I still get notifications now, probably just like down to once a week. Let me know how they're relaxing stuff.
Well, yeah. So what you end up happening is you have good politicians and good policemen, and you have really shitty politicians and really shitty policemen.
Right.
Well, we always hear the stories about the shitty cops. That's just the way it is. Okay.
But those shitty people exist in every fucking
every walk
industry.
of life. Yes. But what makes it worse is when you give them some sort of perceived power over another person. So this one guy that I follow, his gym he's in North Carolina. His name is Nick. You can go figure the rest out. And so what ends up happening is this police officer goes in and starts harassing the customers, threatening to write a ticket if they don't shut the business down. So he writes him a ticket. Right. Well, the police chief comes to him and says, "Look, he's a little over the top. Okay, we'll just consider this a warning. You get 3 warnings, and then we'll cite you."
Okay.
The next day, that chief was relieved of command.
Oh shit!
And the dickhead captain that went in there and harassed the customers is now
the chief,
the acting chief. Okay.
Wonder who that guy's related to.
I wonder. Yeah, exactly. And so he goes out there and enters the building with a key card from somebody from years ago that the guy didn't own the gym at the time when that card key was active, and they never took it off the book. So he just helped himself into the business and started harassing customers, and had his officers block the parking lot and start taking pictures of cars and people's faces, so that they can cite them later. Dude, that's flat out harassment. That's
fucking brown shirt shit.
It's exactly brown shirt shit. And that's not the only place that's happened. That's happened in many other places.
Right.
Then you get these stupid idiots in New York saying, turn in people that are not social distancing, while he's out jogging in a park with people
by himself.
Doing the stuff. He's doing completely opposite of what he tells you to do.
Right.
So you have all this going on. That just tells me that shitty people are going to be shitty people, and when you give them power, they're going to be shitty people to more people
with power.
Yeah, with power. Now, personally, for me, I'll just eliminate the power. I would. Well, I'm not even gonna go what I would do. So what would end up happening is that there'd be a new guy taking his job.
Okay.
Because I'm not putting up with that guy's shit. He's not going to come at me like that. I'm sorry. And so, and they like to push you. They like to see if they can get you to trip. And that's what they did with a lot of these guys.
Because a lot of times, if they're
fucking bullies.
If you think about it, if and this is kind of a conspiratorial thing, but if what they have you on is a bit flimsy, then they need to be able to add layers to the cake to create the justification.
Sure.
So, and that's just, for me, that's if I'm thinking it out and I want this plan to work, that's how I would do it.
Right.
Number one is, if you're going in to inconvenience somebody with some sort of a loose excuse,
I need to add more to it.
Number one is, now you're just telling me that you want to work fucking harder.
Yeah.
It's like, how about have a good solid reason that'll stick, rather than finding an end and hoping that you can pile on it.
Right.
Which is fucking dumb.
So we see a lot of this going on now. I know the hair salon in Dallas was a big issue where the lady says, "Look, I got to open." So the problem that I saw with this whole thing is that they were really good at telling you what you can and can't do, what you have to close, and what is essential.
But the science wasn't there to support it.
Well, the science wasn't there, but also too, landlords were not forgiving anybody anything. So you're still paying all your bills.
Yeah, that was a huge problem with
that.
me.
I was like, are you kidding me? You're using regulatory. So it's not like they pass a law. They basically use statute enforcement against you. So they use the health department or occupancy through the fire department. So the fire department and the health department are two heavy hands here.
Yeah,
which
we
generally
had this
don't.
The other day.
Yeah, they generally don't get that kind of power, and when they do get that power, it's a new felt boost to their whatever.
It's a method of power that is like fucking absolute. When you fuck up and somebody decides to exercise that kind of control, there's not a whole lot that you can do to undo what they did without jumping through a whole lot of hoops.
I'll go back to an old sports analogy. I remember one of my coaches would always talk about, we always made fun of the equipment manager and the towel boys, the attendants, locker room attendants. He goes, make fun of all these guys all you want, but when you need something fixed or you need a clean towel, you want this guy to be, giving you the right shit.
Wait till you don't have it.
Yeah, so the problem with that is you got to pick the right towel boy.
Right.
You got to have the right equipment manager. Okay, and you can't fuck with him while he's doing his job.
Right.
So what you end up doing is getting these people that have underlying jobs that have taken shit for so long, they're going to exact their revenge on everybody else. So you start seeing a lot of that. So you saw a lot of that happen.
Fucking stored up anger.
Oh, absolutely. So now I got this power. I'm going to come and bust this guy. And so you see a lot of that. I saw a lot of that going on, and I saw a lot of people. You know, when you look at like the landlords and stuff like that, I saw people take advantage of that. They basically use that to punish some of their customers.
Now, some of those people that tried to, that had no, I'm not going to say forgiveness, but if they didn't have some kind of provision in their contract that didn't allow for that, then for them, they would see like, okay, well, it's like, hey, if you're in business, you should be able to, you should have something in store in case of rainy days like this. And the only reason that guy's coming after you is because whoever he owes money to is coming after him.
Now, I would say a lot of people did have savings accounts. But that's not.
Some people did.
You didn't want to burn that, right? So here's the one thing that got me was the mortgage companies. I had a friend that had went to his mortgage company. He says, "Oh yeah, you can not pay your note for 30, 60 days, but at the end of that 60 days, you need to catch it all up." Mm-hmm. That's
I remember reading that.
That's horseshit. What you should do is give them the forgiveness for those 90 days and allow them to catch it up within the calendar year.
Okay.
You shouldn't say, well, no, on day 61, you need to have all this money. That's the part I really objected with. Because you're being told, it's not a choice. You're being told you cannot go do this.
Yeah,
you are not going to go earn money.
When I was contacted by my mortgage company about that, the way that, at least how I interpreted what they're sending me, is they made it sound like, hey, we're not going to take your payment this month because we know that it's tough. And the first thing I'm thinking is, if I'm not calling you to tell you I'm struggling, then it should be as business as usual.
Right.
Because if I knew that there was going to be a problem with me making my obligations, I would have picked up the phone and called.
Yep.
So until I make that fucking call, you pull the money out. If you get some kind of message from the bank that says, hey, there's not enough funds, okay, well, that's a different problem. But until we get to that, you keep pulling money out. And to my knowledge, my situation hasn't changed, because it looked like every single month my mortgage was being pulled out because I didn't elect to do that.
It should be your choice. Absolutely. So let's move forward just a little bit now. All of a sudden, so we have these county and city officials, and I hate to call them officials because I think they're morons, decide that we're going to start letting prisoners out so that we don't have a COVID-19 outbreak in jail.
Yeah, I remember that was like a story for a few days.
Yeah, so. Well, and it's become an issue.
Right.
Because when they arrested protesters in Dallas, out of 400, there was 40 of them that were released felons.
Okay.
So anyway, before I get to that discussion, so what they said was, well, we don't want that COVID-19 spreading and becoming an epidemic in the prison or jails. But yet they tell you to wear a mask and stay inside. And I'm thinking, why don't you just give the prisoners masks? They're already inside.
Right.
Social distancing in jail is pretty fucking easy. You lock the cell doors. You know what I mean? It's no different than telling somebody to stay at home. And you let them out in the yard in shifts. You control that.
Right.
I could make that work. I mean, that's not hard at all.
Well, if you think about it, releasing prisoners that, if you don't know if they still pose a risk to the public or not, not only now does somebody run the risk of contracting some kind of illness in some way, and by the way, when you're out and about, you might get your fucking purse snatched.
Well, they did. They had that, and they had a couple of murders. They had car theft. I mean, so this is another bad decision made by people.
Which I was like, I'm gonna compound your problems.
Yeah. Again, what we end up doing is the jobs we overlook are always the ones that are going to get you. Okay.
Right.
It's like you have to have competent people at every level. You're only as good as the weakest link. And we've become complacent with allowing incompetent, liberal, emotionally driven morons take these jobs we deem as not desirable for us.
So on this jail thing. So when they released prisoners, and I don't have a number on how many
they released a lot.
Okay, so when they did that, is there a prisoner guard ratio that they maintain? Because part of me, the reason why I say that is if you did that, then the government entity, whoever that is, did that as a cost savings measure, and the releasing of the prisoners would have been the justification for one action.
I don't think they're that smart.
Okay.
So the whole thing about shelter in place and all that was to not overwhelm the hospitals.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was the factor there because they didn't want to overwhelm the hospitals. That's what all this quarantine things became starting out the gate of.
Yeah, to me, that's the equivalent of, but the electrolytes.
Exactly.
The electrolytes.
Right. So we ended up, we have a mayor here in Houston. Thank God I don't live in the city limits. That took, he took $16 million and assembled a field hospital in the parking lot of the football stadium.
Uh-huh.
Not one patient was in there. We didn't even have.
So he gave somebody some money then, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. And we didn't even have 60% occupancy in hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even close to that. Okay. Yeah, we had a spike in numbers, but it wasn't hospitalized numbers. It was confirmed cases.
All right. I know like people from my old unit that
Mm-hmm.
are now in new military units.
Mm-hmm.
They were all anybody that was related to like in some support. If they were attached to a support unit or battalion of some sort, they got dispersed throughout the state.
Right.
So they were like manning, patient stations and all kinds of shit. So.
Right. Well, all the field hospitals that were assembled in the state of Texas were all disassembled because of no occupancy. Okay, they just didn't need them. So that $16 million, poof, is gone. Now, the child judge has decided they want to put another one up.
They want to put another
field hospital up. After they disassembled the one they put up, now they think, because wave 2, we got to have another one. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you should have left the first one up.
Right.
Commit to it, stick with it, ride it completely out until you get an all clear, then take it down.
Right.
This just tells me this is a way of getting money, because what we ended up hearing was coding was an issue now. That you could have had a toothache, died in a car wreck, but you're still going to die of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So that somebody can get some money for it. So the more diagnosis, the more positive diagnosed cases that you have, the more you're going to get for it.
Well, as long as you have the supporting data to, and that's
well, it's a test, and then they were saying the tests were flawed.
But the supporting data validates you receiving government money.
Right.
Is where I'm going with that.
So we had all that, and so we had all that going on. People are fighting over the money. Put them on a respirator or ventilator because you get more money for that, which is a fact. It's no joke. And then they come out and said, well, the ventilator actually may have killed more people because
my buddy Jeff, my buddy Jeff told me about that.
So this is a huge clusterfuck going on right now. And then you got everybody saying that, it's the president's fault. No, it's not the president's fault. I think he actually did a great job, with the exception of the press conferences.
Right.
I think he was trying to do what's right, and he should have known they were never going to let him do what's right.
Right.
I would have never engaged with those morons. They would have been sitting out. I mean, the way to fix that is just make him irrelevant. He gave him a voice, which is the biggest mistake ever. He was never going to win that. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was a little bit of ego on his part. Mm-hmm. He should not have given in to him and just put him out to pasture. Instead, he wanted to engage and fight with him, which I would have never done.
Right.
Because, the whole thing, he says, look, I've seen your show, you're an idiot. Everybody thinks you're an idiot. That's how I feel about a lot of them.
Right.
And then
his deal is, it's good and bad as he lets them know out loud on national TV.
Yeah, which is
you're
fine.
A fucking idiot.
And I'm fine with that. But to get there and try to take a shit sandwich and make it taste like a cheeseburger ain't going to work either.
Right.
So we're going to move past that. So we're moving past that, right? So now we get into what happened in, at Georgia, where that young black kid was killed by those two rednecks? Remember, there's two guys that they chased a kid down, and there was a fight over a gun, and he ended up getting shot, and he died. Come on! I can't believe you didn't hear. No, didn't know about that.
I'm not paying attention to news stuff.
Wow. So anyway, that happened. So
it's just not my deal.
And so what ended up happening is you had a lot of celebrities saying that, well, LeBron James, which is not, to me, is not a celebrity. He's just a lucky member of the Lucky Sperm Club. He happens to be a big guy that can play a sport and they threw a lot of money at him, doesn't make him a smart guy.
Right.
Okay?
It's just his platform.
Yes, he's just very lucky. He had a God-given gift to be a basketball player, okay? Doesn't make him a moral compass, doesn't make him a scientist,
Right.
doesn't make him a litigator. He's just a dude with money who has an opinion that can buy the platform to put it out there.
Right.
So he gets in there, and, it says that all black men are hunted down. No, that's not
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That's so not true.
These super inflammatory
Yeah, exactly.
statements. Yeah.
So not true. Yeah, what ends up happening is terrible. Anybody that dies, I don't even like to see a dog get run over by a car because I don't think life should be taken like that.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, look, it's about everybody's lives. Now you got people fighting over, no, it's not all lives matters, it's just Black Lives Matters, like Seth Rogen. That fucktard. He and I, I'm not even going to what that discussion was.
Right.
So what ends up happening is you get this huge slant, and then you get all this anger pushed. Then what ends up happening in Minneapolis is George Floyd gets killed.
Yeah.
Dude, they killed that guy. I don't care how anybody wants to argue that. I don't care what he had. He had, first of all, he had COVID-19. He had COPD. He had fentanyl. He had all this other stuff going on. He has a criminal record. But regardless of all of that,
nothing he did
shouldn't have been killed.
There was no death sentence.
The jury of his peers should have handled him.
Right.
Not an officer's knee on his neck. I don't think anybody in this country would disagree with that.
Yeah.
But what happened with that? That got spun up into a total. This is
It's really kind of like the fucking Rodney King thing.
It is. It's no opportunities missed group.
Right.
It's a political think tank. It's a social political think tank that has funding, has the media complicity, and has political support to do this. So what do? They unleash these Antifa morons, these LARPers, basically LARPers, out on people, and they destroy businesses, burn businesses, and murder people.
Well, and
they murdered people.
They have,
and nobody's doing anything about it.
It's a reactionary group that has no context of anything other than, hey, we're gonna tell you this story. It's gonna create some sort of public angst, and this is just what I think.
Sure, because I don't even think they care about the story. They're just looking for an excuse to break shit and hurt people.
Yeah, and really, you're never ever going to get somebody to sit down and discuss what happened because there is no.
Well, they have no interest in that, Sam.
Well, but so the guy that I forget, Derek or whatever, Siobhan.
No, Siobhan, that piece of shit cop.
Yeah. So the mere fact that he didn't have this internal wherewithal to go, fuck, where my knee is, and it doesn't matter whether it was George Floyd or the previous person, whoever he fucking arrested.
Yeah,
the
could have been any color.
The fact that this guy had these kinds of practices that he would use to interact with anybody that he was going to fucking arrest.
Yeah,
you need to address the whatever was that allowed that idea to become part of his operating mode of operation.
So I blame that on his superiors. Okay, and here's where I'm going to go with that. So spending my entire career in senior to middle management, you have to make a choice on behavior and habits that you're going to allow to continue or stop.
Right.
Now, what ends up happening...
But you can only stop things that you know about.
Well, exactly. But what ends up happening, though, is it becomes a political decision. And here's where I'm going to go with that. So if I have a darling that generates a lot of revenue, and the owner of a business is so weak-minded that he's blinded by the ability of this person to generate revenue,
okay,
he will then overlook all of the bad that follows this guy. As long as my golden goose is laying golden eggs, I don't care where he shits.
Right.
Okay?
Well, I had a similar thought.
Yeah, so the same thing happens in the ranks of law enforcement. Same thing happens in the ranks in the military. Same thing. It happens everywhere where there's always somebody that finds a way of sucking up and slipping through the cracks.
Failing upward.
Failing upward is exactly. But what ends up happening, too, is that people don't put the time, effort, and money into training and evaluating employees anymore. I came up to an environment where every year you did an annual review.
Yeah, I came from that.
Very few companies that I've worked for past that have ever done that.
Wow.
They don't do that, and it's a fatal flaw, and I've always been a fan of it. I promote it because what I'm doing is I'm giving you guidance and direction. I'm giving you corrections and goals so that you can become a better employee. Right? A lot of places think that that's just a waste of time. Just go out there and grind it out, and we'll work on it as we go. This is what happens with small companies that become bigger companies, and it's a shame. It really is, because you're really missing out on enrichment, employee enrichment. Mm-hmm. So the same thing happens in the police ranks, and I have a lot of friends that are cops. I support law enforcement, but what I don't support is the underbelly of law enforcement, the blue code that you have, the brotherhood.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen...
Yeah, to me, that's like a blind following.
It's a blind following for sure. Turn a blind eye to these bad habits and we'll reward you.
Right.
That is where every organization goes wrong. And this is what goes on in rank and file. I mean, our police chief is a product... The city of Houston's police chief is a product of that same environment.
Yeah, Acevedo.
Yeah, he was the same way in California. He was the same way in Austin, Texas. And he's the same way in Houston, Texas.
Right.
They all kind of find their political legs, and they find their way of either maintaining some kind of secret on somebody or providing a value that somebody sees important to them. And who cares what bad habits they have, as long as they're effective where I need them when I need them.
Right.
That's a problem. So that's what we have here with this whole Minnesota thing, because now they want to disband the entire... You have California, you have L.A. and Minnesota wanting to disband their police department.
Right.
And they're using the New Hampshire model of using county police instead of the city police.
I was talking to Chief yesterday, and I have several family members that are on in various capacity of law enforcement from the local level on up to the federal level. And everybody that I know has fucking shit on this thing that happened in Minnesota. I mean,
it's horrible.
It was a huge fucking black eye for anybody that works in
and
that.
The three cops that stood there and watched it are just as bad.
So when I started seeing this developing story of defunding the police departments, or some law enforcement agency, wherever it is you fucking live, and the first thing that popped into my head was okay, you people have obviously never seen fucking Mad Max, the original. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if you ever wanted to see what a defunded police department looks like, go back and watch Mad Max, because that's exactly what Mad Max was.
Yeah, it really was.
It's a fucking lawless society.
And
and it's dystopian. Mm-hmm. And in a nutshell, go back and watch that, and then come back and revisit the whole defunding thing. Because I tell you what, it'd be a whole lot more productive to weed out bad apples that are in that capacity of working law enforcement, to get rid of them, and in that purveyance of turning a blind eye like you were talking about, and fix your shit, rather than say, okay, you know what, no more money for you.
Yeah. Well, it's and honestly, I mean, so we can waste a lot of airtime going through that, but it's really part of an agenda that's been around since Obama was president. He was, now he's offering his 2 cents. He was the one that first of all started the BLM bullshit.
Right.
He's the one that was hating on cops and all this other stuff.
Well, I mean, I can take
now he's offered himself as a savior, which is really annoying to me.
Well, I can take the whole bad cops all the way back to, I remember and this was like back in the 80s, and there was a lady who was, okay, granted, she was being chased by police for whatever reason, according to the story. So when she finally gets freaking pulled over, and I want to say that there was 4 officers involved in this, but in a nutshell, when she gets pulled, or when she gets out of the car, she gets fucking gunned down by one of the police officers.
I remember this. Yeah.
So the thing is, hey, we're not talking about police officers that just turn shitty now. You've had pieces of shit that go back 20, 30, 40, 50, since the beginning of law enforcement. You've got shitbags. Find your fucking shitbags and take care of them. Get them out of there.
Right. Exactly. No, exactly. And the problem with shitbags is they always collect dirt on people. Yeah. And they want to drag them down with them. sometimes you're just gonna have to live with that. Just don't let yourself get dirt on yourself,
right?
And make sure you're doing the right thing. Nobody wants to take the righteous road anyway. They want to take the popular road, the fast road, and that's fine. So now we're moving forward to this whole thing. You had the mayor of Minneapolis completely lose his mind and not do what was right. You had the city manager completely lose their mind, not do what's right. Mm-hmm. You had the police chief lose their mind and not do what's right. Then you had the governor of Minnesota losing his mind and not doing what's right. When you have a highly emotional thing that happened at that level, and you have wolves at the gate just waiting to bust in,
right?
You have to stop that shit quick.
Right.
And you got to get out there and say, look, they are arrested pending investigation. They have been fired. They are under arrest. I don't know why they waited the 4 or 5 days it took to get that shit done.
Right.
They should have been arrested right away. Unless you knew,
I agree. Yeah.
Unless you knew this was going to spin up. This is to me now becomes you're part of the problem.
Well, and it also makes it look like the only reason that you did what you did is because public sentiment was growing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need...
You should have done it because that's what was right.
I don't need the public to react to tell me to do the right fucking thing. That was the wrong fucking thing. That piece of shit needs to be in fucking jail.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have made it if I was there, but that's just me. If I was one of the cops standing there, that wouldn't have... So... When you subdue somebody that's in handcuffs and you have them on your belly, you could take your thumb and stick your thumb in the middle between their shoulder blades. They ain't moving.
Well, the mere fact that they have cuffs on them means that they're already restrained.
Exactly.
Even if they fucking run, they're not getting the goddamn cuffs off.
Yeah, and they're not getting very far either. It's not hard. It's hard to run with cuffs on. So so this guy had his knee on his carotid artery, and whatever the autopsy says, I don't care. That guy was in the custody and care of that officer from the time he was subdued to the time he's booked. It's his responsibility for his care and well-being.
Yeah.
And those 3 cops that stood around and watched
and didn't buddy check their dude.
I'd have been sorry, son. You got. There was footage during a riot where a cop had a dude on the ground with his knee in his neck. Mm-hmm. Did you see the cop run up and push him off and say, "No, you don't do that"?
Yeah.
And they got him up and moved him. That's what I'm saying. So to me, it goes to poor training. And you know how I feel about shitbags that don't know how to train, that are training cops. I have a real problem with that. I just do, because it's like, just because you feel you have something to offer the world doesn't make you an expert on technique.
Correct.
Technique has to be a science. It has to be studied. It has to be developed. You have to look at the pros and the cons of every action you do.
It has to be weighted.
It has to be weighted for sure. And then you have to make sure that the guy that you're training is mentally at the level
to have that knowledge
and to use that knowledge at the right time.
Yeah, and I agree to that. I definitely agree.
So now we're rolling up on I don't know. This is going to be like the 3rd week of
we're like following the timeline.
of rioters losing their fucking mind. They've killed 10 cops.
Yes, that's the
I've got a real problem with that.
Second and third order effects of just this lawlessness that's kind of going on.
Yeah, and unchecked. Okay, so they tried to do this in Idaho, and a bunch of rednecks basically run them off.
Now, I will say this: not every riot or protest that I've seen has been to the extreme that we're describing. I've seen some examples of, hey, it really kind of turns into sort of a memorial of, hey, you're bringing attention to the shit that goes on. So I'm not gonna shit on every fucking protest or gathering.
So the minute you spray something with a paint or you bust a window, that's unruly.
It's no longer peaceful.
It's no longer peaceful.
Because the thing that really aggravated me is this particular conversation popped up the other day, that now it's this constant shifting of the sand of what constitutes a peaceful protest. Mm-hmm. Because now, my deal of peaceful protest is you're not gonna inconvenience anybody. You're not going to destroy any property. You're not going to hurt anybody. You're just going to make sure that people see that you're protesting loudly. Visible. Right. But you're not impeding traffic or any of that stuff.
But what you have is a group of politicians, a group of elitist entertainers, you have a group of financially well-off people, and you have a presidential candidate, hopeful candidate, that is basically sanctioning and funding this by providing bail money
That's what I mean by shifting sands.
for all these people.
Things that
Instead of condemning it,
now you're going to get a pass because
instead of condemning the action and trying to bring peace and calm to it,
you're
perpetuating, you're adding on to it, and you're basically saying it's okay. And that's where I have a problem with it. So when I look at the so like yourself, I've seen a few instances of peaceful protest, but then you also see it going the other way, where you have the apologists and the foot washing and the whole. Okay, that if that's how you feel, you have to deal with what you're seeing.
Right.
More power to you, but that is stupid.
But it's a choice they made.
It's stupid because we're all regardless of the whole Black Lives Matter thing, I still believe all lives do matter.
Right.
Law enforcement, civilians, even criminals. Okay, it's not up to a vigilante mob,
right,
to take a criminal and dole out judgment and punishment. That's why we have law and order. That's why we have a system. The problem with that is here lately, like they caught a guy that stole somebody's keys at a restaurant the other day, their key fob, a week or so ago. They flashed forward to their car. They're at the gym with their car with the valet set of keys.
Right.
And the dude that stole, or somebody that had their keys, was rummaging their car.
Okay.
So they called the cops, arrested the guy, and the guy says, well, no, I just bought this key fob from somebody. So why are you in this car?
How the fuck do you even know to get to the car?
Exactly. So they arrest him, and they go to book him, and they will not take him.
Huh?
They did not allow the officers to put him in jail.
Why?
Because it wasn't a crime that was worthy of jail with the COVID-19 protocols.
Okay.
So our district attorney refused to allow the booking to become jail for him, pending a court case.
Okay, but there is a court case.
There should be, but that doesn't mean anything.
So, because I'm thinking that he wasn't jailed, so basically, but he was let go on his own recognizance.
Yeah,
maybe?
Again, which to me is like, really? So this is a career criminal, multiple car thefts.
He has a record.
Yeah, he has a record.
We know his name.
Yeah. So exactly. Like. So anyway, we have all that. So I'm just sitting here. It's been an overwhelming for a lot of people. For me, it's a pretty easily solved solution. For me, it's very easy. I'm going to get the experts to give me the best advice. I'm going to put it out there. Let you make your decisions.
Right.
Okay. When it comes to these riots, that shit would have been locked down within 24 hours under my watch. That would have been. And I'll tell you, when you have a governor all the way down to a police chief that refuses to stop rioting in the nation's capital, you bet your ass I'm going to use the military. I'm not going to argue with anybody about that, because the people that are elected and paid to do that job are failing at that job. I'm not going to allow them to deface 250 years of statues and history and destroy property and hurt people in the nation's capital, even in my own city, without pushing back. They're lucky. They're lucky that the majority of the people that want to do good do not get engaged, because that shit would end. The first time you see resistance against these Antifa pussies, they run. They're great shit talkers. They show up with their little wooden swords and their pallets of bricks and shit like that.
Yeah, but the moment you show any kind of like strong opposition,
yeah, they leave. So to me, it's like that's your answer. Just show up with force and they'll leave. When you send police officers out there with riot shields and batons with no firearms, and cops are getting shot, you're a moron. I would put, because you got cops walking off the job right now saying, I'm done with this. That one.
Yeah, well, I saw because now we start getting into this like this area where these cops that are walking off the job, they're doing it to show solidarity,
and they should go. You take care of it then.
Yeah. The thing that started that whole thing was that old man that got freaking pushed down.
Yeah.
So Chief, I was talking to Chief the other day, and so I remember when I took criminal justice in college, I didn't agree with my professor on some of the things because I learned a lot in that class. But when I boiled it down to its basic instinct.
Mm-hmm.
What it boils down to, and I don't care what the fucking industry is it's the number of hours in a day. So if you're paid to patrol an area for 8 fucking hours, and you come upon a situation where somebody's doing whatever, doing something that requires your intervention, you as a police officer requires your intervention. Your goal is to de-escalate whatever this is and impart whatever the next move is to be. If the move justifies you handcuffing that person and taking them to fucking jail, you're doing that because your policy says for you to fucking do that.
Well, you were asked a reasonable request and refused.
Yeah, because you escalate.
You were given a lawful order. Go, move.
Well, the thing is like once you've been caught doing something, if there is no other provision that says, hey, he's going to get off with a warning. If the policy says, and really now this boils down to officer discretion, but let's just skip past the discretion. It says, hey, this guy needs to be rolled up and taken down to be processed. So you have an X amount of time to do that. And then get that guy dropped off so you can get back to doing what your main task is. Patrol that fucking area. You don't sit here and eat up 2 or 3 hours trying to negotiate with somebody.
Right.
I'm sorry. We're gonna at some point I'm gonna draw the fucking line in the sand, and that may be a harsh thing to say.
Well,
but again, I go back to that part where I said there's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
So at some point, I have to be very exact and deliberate in what I do. So,
have you ever been on Bourbon Street when they shut it down?
Yeah.
Yeah. When they say get off the street, they mean get off the streets.
Oh man.
So you got cops on horseback, you got trucks spraying water,
it's pushing,
and you're pushing everybody off the streets. It's no different with that crowd. Okay, that guy that got pushed to the ground, okay? When you make the conscious decision to be in a protest crowd, you have to decide at what level you're going to be a part of that crowd or not a part of that crowd.
Right.
Okay? If there's a bunch of 20-somethings running all around you, and you decide you're going to relive your 20-somethings and get face-to-face with somebody in your 70s, you pretty much put yourself in that position, okay? Yeah, it's sad that the guy got knocked to the ground, but if he wasn't there, he wouldn't have been knocked to the ground.
So now I don't know the whole freaking story on this thing, but so was he like in a group of people and he like collectively got pushed down, or did people at least walk
how does
up
the
to
cop?
him?
How does the cop know? How do you know?
I don't know. Was this guy in a walker or something?
No, he was not in a walker.
Okay,
I didn't see it. So when you're guarding a post at a base,
right?
Okay, and somebody comes walking up to the gate, and you say, "Halt! I don't know you. Do you have any ID?"
Yeah.
And do you let them in on their word?
Oh no.
No, you don't. You say, "Look, sir, you need to leave." Do you let them stand around in front of the gate? No. You tell them to leave. It's the same thing in my book. It's like, look, this is a dangerous area, sir. We're asking everybody to leave.
Right.
And we don't leave, I'm going to help you along.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to advocate pushing 70-year-old guys because, first of all, if you comment, I really don't care because that's how I feel.
Right.
Not you. I'm talking about the listeners.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you chose to put yourself in that environment.
Right.
Now you have to be ready to deal with what's coming your way. What if? I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen. And what I think is even funnier about this whole thing is they're still talking about social distancing. Yet during the Floyd funeral, they had thousands of people at this funeral after they've told millions of Americans you can't attend funerals of your friends and family.
Well, I am waiting. I am waiting now because of this whole social distancing and because of this very unfortunate thing that happened in Minneapolis. Is okay. So now you've had all these protests and people got together. You know, okay, what's society going to look like in the next two weeks?
Right.
Because I've already seen reports where, you know, and people way smarter than us are saying, hey, we're actually waiting for the second wave, or we're predicting a second wave of COVID. Now we're just waiting to find out were they right.
Sure.
You know.
Now, is there a lawsuit then? I mean, because honestly, are there lawsuits that you can now go after people for being wrong? Because I would tell you, if it's not a huge uptick, somebody's going to look pretty stupid.
Sure.
Somebody's going to look like they've been lying. Okay. And that's going to be the big telltale. I mean, I wish we had something other to talk about for our first podcast back, but my God, this has just been the biggest shit show of stupid shit I've ever seen in my life.
Because typically this topic would be something that I read on, but I never ever publicly comment on any of my social media platforms about what my fucking opinion about this stuff.
Well,
because I don't want to do that. I'm
sure. I get it. I mean, for me, it's just like you almost have to, because that's all that was there. When you sit there and we've done pretty good about, I think, stepping around certain things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, people need to quit being stupid and quit being led. Okay. I mean, the whole fact that you've wholesalely turned over your civil liberties to people that are, to me, not competent in their job in the first place is a real problem. Now, I can tell you that if that person was a tried and true professional and they were able to articulate in no uncertain terms why we're doing this, but because we're doing this is step A, step B, step C, step D, and we ask that you work with us on this, that's one thing. But if you come at me and say, this is what I said, you didn't do it, I'm going to fine you or put you in jail. Right. Now we're talking a whole different game here. Okay.
Well, and the way I see it is both sides. People who side on, if there's a line, people that lie on this side, people that lie on this side. Each one has their awful extremes that they'll go to. And those are the things that need to be fixed. And, however they came to be, through growing up, the influences that imparted that kind of information, that at its core, that's the shit that needs to be fixed.
Sure.
And that's not going to get fixed overnight.
No. And I think kind of like, at some point we'll end up wrapping this conversation up, but for me, it's like, I used it as a retrospective piece of time to start fixing some things I was ignoring.
For instance,
like straightening up things around here. Getting my house in order.
For me, would have been the French thing, naturally my graphic stuff, and then I turned back to paying more attention to my stock stuff, which I pretty much almost not abandoned my social media presence. I just stayed more towards the social media that was geared towards the stock market and stuff like that.
Smart and safe.
So, I just chose to hang out with a smaller group of like-minded people.
Well, we also learned how to be better shoppers in the sense of, you end up, waste creeps into your lifestyle when you start getting really comfortable.
Right.
You start looking over things that you probably shouldn't have looked over. And it took something like this to force us back into looking at what we should look at. So we changed our structure in regard to what we shopped for and where we shop for it.
Sure.
We also looked at it from a cost per type perspective. What I mean by that is we learned to stretch things a little better.
Yeah.
And we also decided that instead of being comfortable, when you go into a store and you have the freedom of movement, you can make some really bad decisions sometimes.
Sure.
But if you mission plan,
which is sort of what I did it when I shop.
You mission plan, it changes things. Not mostly for me, but mostly my wife's approach to things. And because I think this really drove home for her some of the aspects of my thinking.
Okay. Because
you've known me long enough to know that for me, this is just what's going on now is just a normal operation for me anyway.
Sure.
I don't let anybody that I don't know within 6 feet of me anyway. I only handshake and hug a certain amount of people I know. I really don't hang out with a lot of people that I don't want to hang out with.
Right.
And for me, I suspect everybody of being sick. I'm a germaphobe. So, you know this. And so
I've lived in 200-man barracks.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to die.
Right. I hear you. See, and that's the mentality you have to have. The minute you start thinking, you start letting this creep into your head, every sniffle means something different to you.
Right.
every ache and pain means something different to you. And if you start giving into that, it starts snowballing on you. And next thing you know, they've got you. Now you're watching this and you're doing that, and you're not touching this and you're not doing that, and it really does become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sure.
And I think that the media understands that, and they've been playing it masterfully. Do I think it's a conspiracy? No, but I think it's a no opportunity missed drill. I think it's you got to remember, these think tanks sit back all the time. Okay, look, this guy's popular. His rallies are huge. What's the best way to stop his rallies? Let's just shut down large gatherings. That's coincidental.
That's a coincidence. I will say that that thought sort of crossed my mind and really across the board is you've prevented kind of the exchange of ideas.
Yes.
Ideas or thoughts or influence, however you want to look at it. But that's the conspiratorial side of me.
Right.
It's not anything that I run around going, oh my God, people, you need to watch out because the fucking sky's falling.
So
I'm not that dude.
Yeah, you and I are a lot like that in that perspective. I take it down and make note of it. Does it drive me? No. Am I aware of it? Yes.
Right.
But I'm also going to explore it and the fringe of it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to look at the pros and the cons, and I'm going to look at who has the best to gain from it, who has the most to lose from it.
Right.
Then I start building a logic tree off of all these things that I see happening. Yeah,
because you've got to make sense of it.
Sure. And then what ends up happening, I always find it goes back to influence of money or influence of people, or sometimes both.
And like for me, and this is kind of a weird thing, but if I'm not, nothing really bothers me. Mm-hmm. But if it did, the one thing that I don't want to happen, I damn sure don't want people to fucking know about it.
Exactly.
I'm damn sure not going to fucking.
Yeah, I'm not going to telegraph it either.
I'm not going to get on any of my social medias and preach about it in such a way that I'm becoming like on this particular day I was Paul Revere, or
right.
I'm the town fucking crier. No, shut the fuck up.
No, I do share a lot of shit. I will tell you, I share a lot of stuff because I feel like I'm doing two things. One, I want to see where everybody's head is. I want to see who's stupid enough to take me on in an argument. That's one. Two is I want to give you some information to think about so you can draw your own conclusion. Okay. I'm not trying to lead anybody down a path myself. You tend to formulate, not you, but the general public tends to formulate what they want to take away from your information.
Right.
Just the bottom line. See, I knew that guy was that way. No, you don't know the guy. You really don't know the guy, but you've always wanted to believe that about that guy.
Right.
And that's where I look at things a little different.
My latest tactic is because I've gotten so fucking tired of getting on to look at any of my social media feeds, and it's basically the same fucking shit. So anytime I post anything, a lot of times it's going to be something about fucking animals, pets.
That's funny.
I'd rather fucking watch this dog. I'd rather watch this dog skip rope than listen to your motherfucking rant about the shit you think you know that you don't.
Right. And the food's been fun too. So, cooking, I mean, we've eaten almost every meal here at the house, and now when we go out to the restaurants, we're not enjoying the restaurants anymore because honestly they're mailing it in, and I feel bad for them because that's a tough business to miss a day on. Yeah.
And my cooking here lately, because I fucking hate waste.
Yeah.
Here in the last few, because I always fall down that freaking YouTube rabbit hole of trying to learn how to do things a different way, and I definitely over this quarantine time learned some pretty neat shit that's now become common practice for me.
And that's what you should do at this time. I mean, turn off the TV, step away from the social media, don't listen to your friends, figure this shit out for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's really all you got. I mean, really think about it. I mean, we really didn't talk much during this. We were all kind of doing our own things. I mean, it wasn't like we were sitting here theorizing or game playing a damn thing.
Right. I mean, to be honest, people reached more out to me than I did the other way, which is that's normal. That's just I've got several things going on at home with maintaining some sort of an active stimulating.
Well, you were just coming off of rehabilitating a hip surgery too.
Yeah, that plus trying to keep my dad immobile.
Right.
So the one thing that I will say about this whole quarantine thing, or just this whole episode we went through, was that, I saw more people getting out and being more active than I ever historically saw in my neighborhood. I encouraged my parents to go for a walk daily. Mm-hmm. Now that's a daily practice now.
Right.
Get out there, get that freaking sunlight, mm-hmm. and earn your meal.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of shit. And for me, because I'm worldly in the sense that I'm not, I know that, if I ever leave the United States, I want to be able to kind of hold my own, and wherever it is that I fucking go. That's why I picked up French and the French thing, French connection with my family in Louisiana.
Well, I'll never leave the U.S., so I'm good.
So and that's so the because I was talking to a buddy of mine, I was like, people in England, when you live over in a country where knowing the language of three of your four neighbors around, to me that's fucking smart.
Oh yeah.
Living in a world where you think, well, the only 26 letters that I need to know in the fucking in the world is what's in the U.S. or in the alphabet, the English alphabet.
I'm a little surprised because of what your occupation was in the military, that you didn't have another language skill or two.
Now we learned some, but we didn't. It wasn't like conversational.
That's what I'm saying. Because I know what we know what you did, and I was shocked because generally you would want to have.
But I wasn't operational.
Right.
I am more the academic. I'm in a talk, or I'm in a.
To my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. To my
Where
point.
now, if I would have been like in the intelligence world,
mm-hmm.
We have our own version of a door kicker. I know what a real door kicker is. That's somebody that's in my world.
A physical manifestation of the word.
It's going to be somebody in the infantry.
Right.
But when you're in the intel world, your door kicker is somebody who has the intelligence MOS.
Sure.
Only in their capacity.
It's a linguist, typically.
No. That would be so you have people that they're the bridge between finding somebody and bringing that somebody to a linguist.
Okay.
Because the linguist will establish.
Oh, you're talking about the guy in the field bringing a dude in. Okay.
So we have.
Gotcha.
They have more of a language component.
Okay,
than
I get
do.
that. Yeah.
Which if I had it to do all over again, I probably would have gone that route. Mainly because it would have allowed me to stay in the pipeline a little bit longer, and I would have left with a language that actually would serve me in the private sector.
It's funny going through this whole thing. It just struck me. We never said one word about China.
China.
Maybe we need to leave that for another podcast. What do you think?
So. Yeah, I think so.
You think we beat this one up enough?
Oh yeah, we've stretched this one out quite a bit.
Okay, so yeah, what we're gonna do then? I guess we'll just wrap this one up. We just want to say, hey, we're glad to be back. Get out, get some sunshine. Don't listen to these crazy morons around you right now. That shit's eventually going to burn off, and we'll start building things back again. I think we already have right now. I firmly believe it's just to influence a political cycle. We all. Right. I mean, if you don't believe that, then there's something wrong with you. There really is. You're just an idiot. You deserve whatever happens to you, because that's the only reason why this got spun up the level it got spun up.
Okay. Goodbye.